That's good information.
That's the
to
whole
have.
thing. Hi everyone. Hello, we're here. It's Tuesday.
Mhm.
We're going to talk about new comics that are coming out tomorrow, and it looks like there's a fairly
This.
substantial stack.
So I'll
Of
be
books.
I'll be honest with you, Dan. This week is not necessarily a
Mhm.
bigger week than normal,
Mm-hmm.
but
But
you and I we've worked long enough. I'd like to think that you know me as a fairly professional individual who's usually
Yeah.
well prepared for
Yeah.
this podcast, live stream.
we're done.
It's
Hold
over.
Okay, we're back.
We're back
now.
Dan had a little talk with me.
That's right. We're done. I'm going to eat my Twizzlers.
So-
So what's up with the stack then?
Well, this time of year is a busy time of year.
You did.
And so when we do this stream, I usually like to pick out a handful of books and kind of curate a list. And if I can't read all of them throughout, my time, I can at least like skim them and kind of get a feel for them. But today we're just so gosh darn excited to be a week before Christmas.
So excited.
And we've just been overflowing with enthusiasm for helping customers and everybody find all their last minute Christmas gifts for all their loved ones.
Yeah.
And I just plumb didn't read anything today.
Okay. It's been a busy day.
So that's not entirely true. I was able to skim/read like 2 books. So instead, what I decided to do is just go in the opposite direction and just go crazy and just pull a bunch of books off the shelf.
All right.
And we're just gonna flip
We're gonna
through a
read
bunch
them
of
live
them
on stream.
live on stream. So everybody
gonna read
buckle in. We're gonna have a live reading.
We're not gonna read them out loud.
No.
We're just gonna look at them.
You're gonna watch me
for a
read.
while. You sit there in complete silence. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's start with the first one.
So
Batman.
Batman. Have you heard of this character called Batman?
He's new, yeah.
Well, this might surprise you to learn he's been around for a long time, at least since 1988.
Wow.
But I always start with the facsimiles, and Batman Year One. This is part 3. I'm kind of shocked that DC is committing to just reprinting the entire 4-issue series. Yes.
Let's go.
I know Susie's here for the peak content
for us to read.
But it's funny. I was having a conversation with some people the other day. I don't know I know you, Dan, personally are.
This story sounds made up already.
So, a conversation with people. I know. Well, it was on the internet, so they might not have actually been people.
Yeah.
They were probably Russian bots.
It's an AI.
Yeah. So there's kind of a conversation happening in a lot of comic book circles right now, at least on social media, is the death of comics. And this is if you're old like me, you've heard this every couple of years, people talk about it. But one of the things that's kind of come up is everybody is talking about how they wish/think Marvel and DC will just start reprinting classic issues and classic runs of, because it's like, I love Chris Claremont X-Men from the 70s and 80s, but I can't really buy all the issues. But I don't like having the big fat omnibus hardcover books sitting on my shelf. I want issues, and so I was.
Well, you have issues.
Well, I have many issues, but I was able to surprise some people by I was able to surprise some people by informing them that is in fact exactly what Marvel and DC are doing right now.
That's what they're doing.
They're printing a lot of these classic issues. And now we're getting to the point where they are printing. I don't know if I feel comfortable saying full runs of things, but 4 issues. That's the full story. It's a small run, but it's the run.
That's a run, baby.
Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli had this epic 4-issue run for their story arc. And last month or maybe the month before, Marvel did print the 2 issues of X-Men for the Days of Future Past storyline. So they're like tiptoeing in that direction where they're
getting there.
It's maybe we're not going to get like a full year's worth of like Walt Simonson's Thor, but that would be cool. We'll see where it goes. If these,
I don't know if I want a whole year of Walt Simonson's Thor. Is
that
something that I want?
Trust me, you do want it.
That's what I want.
So, but anyway, I just wanted to make note of that. I just think it's kind of interesting to see developments in the industry, and I'm personally kind of happy to see all these facsimile reprints. First of all, because DC's look great, as we've established. Like they're really good reproductions.
They know how to do it.
to the point where it's that age-old collecting problem where I like having original things, but then I'm afraid to touch it and mess it up.
Yeah.
So when you have these really high-quality facsimile reprints, I don't feel bad about reading them because they're not the original.
You roll them up.
The problem, yeah, you can.
You hit your dog with
look.
it.
I make enemies because I read my comics I read my comics folded over like this. This does not make people happy to see me.
Yeah,
see me reading.
The page folded over.
Yeah, but
it's your book. You do what you want with your own.
That's right. Also, I like to read one-handed. I need the other hand free for snacks and stuff. Yeah, that's what you were thinking. Anyway, so we're off to a great start. I know Susie's having a good time.
Absolutely.
So that's just starting off talking about Batman.
It's like 8 people.
Yeah, right on. Oh, hello.
Oh, hey, Serena. One of my favorites. The disrespect you showed the Gargoyle Batman book the other night. Gargoyle Batman book.
Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. We talked about it. No, we talked about it in the stream. She's commenting on the way I was holding it while reading it.
Oh.
It's not. I wasn't just playing for the cameras. That is how I hold my books when I read them. Coming up next is not strictly a facsimile, but it is a reprint of older material. So I'm putting it at the top. Yep. This is Rom and the X-Men. So Marvel has the title is Marvel Tales, and it's what they use whenever they reprint classic story arcs and issues, and it's what they used to do before facsimile became a thing. Like because they did used to, like, kind of piggybacking off the conversation I just had, they did used to reprint classic series. Like there was a series called Classic X-Men, which just reprinted the early Chris Claremont issues, like from the beginning of Giant Size X-Men all the way up until like 140 something. So you can get entire runs reprinted like that. So I think the idea that they'll eventually just get to the point of just reprinting all of the classic runs, it's possible. It's possible.
The shirts are fire. Serena says the shirts are fire.
Thank you. I'm pretty happy with
that's
it.
The wet bandits.
That's right. Crowbars up.
I got this from Target.
Well, I did not get mine from Target.
Fancy.
It is fancy. It's a very exclusive brand I don't even want to talk about it because they're not paying me to advertise on the stream. But if they watch this stream and they see all these fire shirts that I'm promoting, maybe they want to kick me some free shirts, then we'll talk about it.
Maybe we'll jump in.
Anyway, so the neat thing about the Marvel Tales, that the way Marvel has been the way Marvel has been using the Marvel Tales as opposed to the facsimiles. Oh my gosh, is that just a portrait of me? I've been asked that many times, believe it or not. Yeah. In fact, to the point where this brand, I'll just say their name, I guess. Their name is Roosevelt's. And when I bought my first Roosevelt's shirt, they have a thing on their website where you can take a selfie of yourself in the shirt and leave a review on their website, and then they give you like 15% off. And I did that for the first shirt I bought. And they were like, hey, did you know you look like that guy from Home Alone? Go buy a Home Alone shirt.
Wow.
And it worked because I did it.
You got it.
So even them, it's
the hair.
It's mostly the hair. Yeah, I mean it's subdued right now, but when it's out,
under control.
It is. I have to keep it under control while I'm on camera. Otherwise, that's all anybody would be talking about.
I know.
But let's get back to some comic books, Dan. Quit distracting. Anyway, the difference between this and the facsimiles is that this reprints several issues instead of one, and it doesn't reprint a facsimile of the entire issue. It's just the comic book pages. But this collects the 4 issues of the time Rom Space Knight teamed up with the X-Men. And you remember we talked about Rom when they did do the facsimile of issue 1. So I'm kind of excited to read these. I don't really know anything about them. I haven't even heard comic book focus. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're not here to talk about shirts and my awesome hair.
No.
But,
maybe.
I mean, we can. I have a lot of comics here, and I haven't read a lot of them, so we can just talk about things I know, which is about how handsome I am.
Right, and your hair.
And my hair. But I am excited to read this because like I said when the Rom facsimile came out, it's something that I hear a lot of older fans talk about, like they remember it fondly, and because it's something that was never really collected because of the rights issues, because Rom was a toy owned by Hasbro. It almost feels like, in a way, lost media. Like
Yeah.
Like it was a thing that you could only find if you dug into the back issue bins. Like you couldn't just readily read it. So it's kind of neat to see it for the first time. It feels like I'm like, I don't know, finding some lost treasure, lost media.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Indiana Jones style.
yeah, exactly. Moving on. We're
Superman.
gonna clip through some of the books that's in my pull list. You know, I just like to highlight the stuff that I think is excellent, even though I don't have much specific to say about him.
Yeah.
Superman has been excellent. We're like basically almost a full year into this run, and I'm just really loving it. Like I said, I haven't read this issue, so I don't want to flip too far into it.
You ruin it for yourself.
But one of the things I think that's worth noting is that there was an interview. I don't remember if I said this on the previous time we talked about the comic, but there was an interview with the creator or the writer, I should say, Joshua Williamson, and he talked about how he wanted to bring a 90s Batman toy aesthetic to Superman. I don't know if he said it in those words, but he wanted to create a bunch of characters and designs for the comic that would be great toys, because Superman never really had great toys the way Batman did. And I gotta say, in that respect,
Batman's just more interesting.
Well, his villains are. That's a different argument, though.
Well, I mean,
you know, the point is, this book looks great. I really like it. Highly recommend. Moving on. Next up, Batman and Superman: World's Finest. This is actually a really, really good book.
Batman,
and it's you know, Kingdom Come is such a big title in like DC's history and comic book history. I'm kind of surprised. Not really surprised. I feel like this is a book that people are going to be talking about for a long time because of its connection to Kingdom Come. But it's probably the only comic I'm reading now that, or at least I should say like a mainstream superhero comic that I'm reading now that is tied to some kind of continuity. Like it's not like current continuity, but it's not just like a totally standalone story like the Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. It's just a Batman story. There's no connection to anything. Whereas this one is like intrinsically tied to the classic story Kingdom Come by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. And I think part of the reason it works so well for me is that Mark Waid is also writing World's Finest, so it feels like he's just getting to do a sequel to Kingdom Come.
Do you find that the stakes are lower for single one-shot type issues? You're like, I don't care what happens.
You know, that's a fair question, because I think that is the driving force behind most of the regular ongoing titles. Is there is this sense of like, what are they doing with Spider-Man now, or what are they doing? What's going to happen? Because it's real and it counts toward the continuity. Whereas like the standalone stories, you're right. It's like it's just a story. Like, you know, it doesn't feel important. And that's a thing that's I've always bothered me, and I've kind of struggled with it, because I understand the sense of like what's really happening with the character, like which direction are they taking him, because that's the real continuity. And I think the way I've made peace with that is I've just been so burned out, and I've seen too many bad new directions for the characters. Then I think it's this natural life cycle for most comic book readers is you just have to detach yourself for it. And when you get started, or you know, for a while, you get really invested in it because they are fun characters, and that is some of the appeal of like what's next, you know, where's the story going. And then you kind of eventually realize that it's not really going anywhere, and or even worse, it goes places that not only do you not like, they're just like not good for a variety of different reasons. And so that's why I tend to gravitate more toward the unconnected stuff, because it's just good creators making good stories. And as I've grown up, I have become more interested in what a creator can do and less about just the love of the character. And you know, it's like when I was a kid, I just liked Spider-Man, and I had no idea that it was even written and drawn by people. It's just it's just Spider-Man. It's just Spider-Man. And then at a certain point, when I started like understanding it as an art form, I was like, okay, the reason I like this is because these people were involved, and now I can be more.
They knew how to write him.
And exactly. So that's just I'm not saying there's a right way or a wrong way to appreciate it. I just think that they are two kind of like unique perspectives on it, and that's kind of how I ended up where I am. But Batman World's Finest. It's as far as like continuity goes, it's really good. It's the finest.
It's the finest.
You know, and that actually is something to point out. I'm really glad that this is a story that's living up to the title World's Finest, because World's Finest is a legacy book. Like, it was around forever. It was one of DC's earliest uses of like we're just like, you know what, Superman's a high seller, Batman's a high seller.
Put 'em
Let's
together.
just put them together.
Yeah, it's
And
a no-brainer.
yeah, exactly. And by putting them together, that's kind of what created the idea that Batman and Superman are friends. That the whole the Super Friends cartoon was kind of born out of World's Finest was just such a high seller because everybody loved the idea of Batman and Superman being friends.
Yeah.
And it only happened because they were just both popular books. There wasn't any real like in story reason for it other than just like they're both. Why not sell a third book and put both of them in it?
People want more.
It's a good story that lives up to the appeal. Batman Off-World #2. Again, really excited to read this issue. Looks great. Doug Mankey's art is just stellar.
Doug Mankey.
Yeah, written by Jason Aaron. I really love his style. He is a really good writer. Again, don't want to flip too far into it and spoil the issue for myself, but I absolutely. This is, I don't know,
We're fine with ruining it for other people.
Well, yeah, I don't care about other people. Like when we do streams on books that I've already read, I'll flip right through the whole thing. I just flip right to it.
I'll show you the whole thing.
But this might be it's near the top of the books I'm most excited to read that's coming out.
Batman is ripped.
You know what?
Oh my goodness.
Batman's a ripped guy. Like,
oh my gosh, how vascular.
When you are look at those veins on those arms.
Man. Wow, he's got like an 8-pack going on.
I gotta say, I don't find veins attractive.
Do you feel well?
I understand that some women do find veins attractive.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Like
but,
I've got nice forearms, a little veiny.
Yeah, mine are covered up right now, so you can't see. But my forearms are ripped.
That's right. They're absolutely ripped, 100%. I mean, wow.
Yes. I did. You know what? Looking at this cover, it is interesting because I feel like extra attention has been paid to Batman, whereas in previous decades, all of the attention would have been paid to her and like all the focus. And now it's like it's all about the beefcake. And you know what? I think that's great. All right, moving on. G.I. Joe. You know, I forgot, Dan. I was going to bring in my some more toys for you to break, but I didn't do that.
I will snap them all in half.
But I noticed
live on stream.
Another book I'm excited to read. The art is really, really good. As a lapsed G.I. Joe fan, I enjoyed the previous issue, and this is probably G.I. Joe is as close to like comfort comics as they can get for me.
Okay.
Like I was saying previously, like as a kid, I would like Spider-Man and the X-Men a whole lot, but I can't ever go back to that. G.I. Joe operates a different space where it's just like it was something I was interested in as a very young kid. So it's like really difficult to it blows my mind going back and looking at those toys, and they're like for ages like 4 through 10, and I'm like, 4-year-olds were playing with G.I. Joe, really? Like
blowing stuff up,
right?
I mean, it's just.
But I was
boys,
I know I was.
Yeah,
it was the 80s. It was a different time.
You could just do that.
But yeah, cool looking book. Very excited that Larry Hama is getting to continue his run. Also, that's another aspect of it. It's not just the nostalgia appeal of the characters, but it's also the respect that it is the original writer for the comic, getting to kind of continue it. So it hits on like both levels, where I can appreciate it just that it's G.I. Joe, but also as a fully grown and hyper intelligent adult, I can really appreciate the creative aspect of it as well. I think they say Sigma male. Is that what that's me? Yeah. Plot holes number 5.
We're back to some plot holes.
I almost don't even want to open this issue. It's the final issue.
It's gonna mess you up.
So I like this cover. This is it kind of like sums up all the comic book pages, like in black and white with all the characters standing there. That's really nice.
That's fun.
Yeah. This has been a fun series. I like Sean Murphy's art a lot. I was a little uncertain about his writing when this started, but it's been solid. Well paced, all the hits all the beats, like all the characters.
Doing good. They're doing good.
So it's solid. It's fun too. I think that's the biggest thing is that it's fun. So highly recommend that. I'm sure the trade paperback will be out soon.
Like a fun book.
Hexagon Bridge, not a fun book.
More serious.
More serious. But you know what? I am enjoying it quite a bit. The art is just great. Like this is such a good looking comic, and I like that the tone is it's really serious, but it's also kind of dreamlike and surreal, which just creates a very unique
the whole aesthetic is
aesthetic. That's exactly the word.
very
Yeah.
specific, very well thought out and put together.
Yep. I love the design of the issues, as we've talked about.
The covers are really cool.
Covers
it's
look
like
great.
like a science journal or some sort of like
Yes.
textbook you might get.
Yes, I think that's, and and more as I get older, I've come to really appreciate just like a nice design, something for a book.
A smart
not
choice.
A smart choice. That's the key, because there's a lot of stuff that I feel like is over designed, like it's trying too hard to be like super classy or super clever, and it doesn't necessarily fit. Like when I see something like that on a Batman book, I'm just like, come on. Just put Batman and put the big logo. That's all you need for Batman.
People just want to see the Batman logo.
But anyway, Hexagon Bridge, very cool book. Looking forward to reading it. Yeah.
Let's go the opposite direction here.
Totally opposite. I said earlier, what did I say? Batman Off-World is the book I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
I can't commit to that because I also have Godzilla War for Humanity, issue number 3. This is written by Andrew McLean and Jake Smith. It's drawn by Jake Smith, and I'm a big fan of Jake Smith. I won't say that I'm friends with him, but he and I have chatted before.
Oh,
just name dropping. And,
yeah, you got a name drop.
He's a cool dude.
I
love his art.
Talk to people.
Yeah, you should.
I've been doing it.
Yeah, just got to get my name out there
for months now.
And everybody goes, "What? Who?
Like, who's that?
Who's that guy?" But this is
King of the Road, people.
That's right. That's true. Man, look at this splash page. Just so cool.
Nuts.
I love Jake's art.
That is absolutely nuts to look
so
at.
Good.
I love it.
It's just like, I haven't had a chance to see the new Godzilla movie yet, and I'm really kicking myself.
I keep hearing it's really good.
I hear it's amazing.
Yeah.
And everybody's really hyped on Godzilla right now, and I'm really glad for it because I enjoy Godzilla, but so much, so much Godzilla stuff out there is. I don't know.
Not so great.
It's like Godzilla is such a licensed out thing, like there's so much Godzilla stuff out there.
Yeah.
Like
can't all be
so
good.
it's equal parts. It like runs the gamut where it's like really good. It's really cool. It's kitschy. It's silly. It's made for kids. It's made for hyper collecting adults, that have like ridiculous disposable income. And I'm really enjoying War for Humanity because it just feels like it's like somebody with an actual good story to tell about Godzilla that doesn't just feel like we just need something where Godzilla fights a monster and you just kind of have like your plug and play characters, stock characters. That's what a lot of the American Godzilla movies feel like to me. But this book, and I think what I like so much about it is that McLean and Smith are both playing with a lot of what I would consider sillier elements of Godzilla, like Godzilla's son, which is, that's from...
What's his son's name?
I've already forgotten. It's not Godzilla Jr. though. It's
too easy.
My friend watching the stream. He's like screaming at his screen right now. If you
put it in chat.
Put it in the chat, please. If you know Godzilla's kid's name, I'm actually going to scan the page to see if they say it because I'm sure they do, because they do all have names. But anyway, it's like that's from that's I think the 70s era of Godzilla where it was really silly.
Yeah.
And he's got a son, but you know what? These guys are perfectly balancing like really, really good, smart, creative storytelling with some of the sillier stuff. So it's really good. I'm super hyped on this book. If you haven't read it, you should definitely check it out. The main covers are done by Andrew McLean, who is an excellent, amazing artist in his own right. But I get these variants because they are by Jake Smith. So this cover is completely indicative of the kind of stuff you're getting in the issue.
Yeah.
All right.
Ooh, look at that.
So I think we're about halfway through. So we're gonna do what is it I said? It's December, so I want to show off some books that make some excellent presents.
Yeah.
So this book actually coincidentally also comes out tomorrow. Look at that reflecting.
I know.
So this is shrink wrapped, so I can't flip through the book. But we did talk about this book on stream as it was coming out. This is a book called Hairball.
Oh, yeah.
And this is like a creepy horror story about some kind of cat. It's either like a demon or some kind of otherworldly evil cat that's getting involved with this young girl's life and her troubled family life. And people are getting hurt and getting killed. And there's this suspicion of like, is this girl doing it? Is the cat making her do it? Is the cat doing it? She she thinks the cat is like trying to hurt her, but she can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. I really enjoy it. It's like tense and creepy throughout the whole time. This is a nice hardcover. It comes out tomorrow. It's hard to tell in the stream. This cover, the part of the reason it's shrink wrapped is that it's felt.
Oh,
So
it's got a little fuzz.
it's got a little fuzz, so you can pet it like you would a cat.
Yeah.
And there's actually this. It's cut out. These eyes are like inset here. The camera's kind of focusing, but like you can kind of see. So like when you open it up, the eyes will be blank, and inside will be the cat's face, I'm sure.
Hairball.
But yeah, exactly. But you just really nice book. I almost regret getting the issues as it came out, because I would really like this hardcover, but I try to have a policy of not buying multiple things,
right?
Because I only got so much money.
Right. Yeah. Same.
Yeah. Next up, highly recommend
Twig.
this book, Twig. I feel like we might have talked about this on the stream,
maybe,
but I'm recommending it again anyway because I love this comic. This comic came out earlier this year. Yeah. And I'm, I think there's still 2 weeks left in the month. But I might put Twig up as one of my favorite comics that came out this year. I really love this book. It's written by Scotty Young, who needs no introduction. But if you're not familiar with him, you can probably just walk into any comic book store and check the new comic releases, and he's got at least one variant cover for something on the shelf.
Yeah.
Scotty Young is awesome. He makes great comics. His art is very unique. He did the book I Hate Fairyland, which we haven't talked about a whole lot on the stream.
No, really.
But the art by this is by Kyle Stram, who I think does a great job of not emulating Scotty Young's style, but complementing it in his own way. Kyle Stram is really more of a horror artist. And so this book is, look at that, it's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
So it's very, I would describe it as very like dark 80s. His vibe has like a Jim Henson feel, but Dark Crystal style. Yeah.
I can
and
see
so
that.
it's definitely all ages.
Muppets.
Even the main character kind of has like a Muppet feel to him,
Muppet
Twig. But I love this book. It's a very good. It's like a quest adventure where the main character Twig has to go on a quest that his father previously always did every year, but now that his father has passed, the responsibility has fallen onto him. And his dad never got a chance to show him how to do it, so he's having to figure it out as he goes along. It's really good. It's like I said, it's just the right vibe of creepy and wholesome. Yeah, I guess you could say. Like it's got a good message. Kind of like if you're a fan of video games, I think that's the biggest reason I would recommend this, because I feel like you don't have to be familiar with comics to really appreciate this. In fact, I feel like if you just got a kid that loves playing video games like RPGs or adventure games, and you like movies, this is something that you will really, really appreciate and get into. And you don't really have to have any foreknowledge of comic books or comic book storytelling. Even Stram's art, I guess the colors should be highlighted too. Colors by Jean-Francois Bellou, who normally does work with Scotty Young. So it's the same colors that illustrates I Hate Fairyland, I believe. But the colors are just beautiful. Like it's equal parts dark and like lush, and then also psychedelic and weird.
I love it.
Excellent book, I think. And something that I always like to point out, it's truly all ages. Like I think adults will be able to read it and get into it, but also kids will. There's nothing that's going to go above their heads, and they'll also be really invested in it, like the style. It never feels like it's a book that's talking down to kids. Like as I say, like that's my my only issue with when you have books that are for kids or for all ages. They always feel like they're like condescending to kids, and kids don't. I don't think kids always like that. They want to feel like they're reading something that's above their level.
Kids are smart.
And yeah, exactly. Kids are smart. And I think Twig like fits that niche perfectly. Like if you have like a preteen, like somebody that they want to read what the adults are reading, Twig is like the perfect. Like I would say it complements like some of my other favorite books like Bone. I've talked about the book Kea. Like I think that's another example. Twig fits right in there. Excellent book. I probably can't say enough nice things about it. I want, like, one of my favorite things about the book is the ending, but I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to spoil the ending.
I don't want to spoil it.
But it has such a like cool, satisfying ending. It's it's really good.
Dang,
I
is that
actually
your copy?
I have the issues. I haven't bought the trade paperback,
I'm gonna grab that one.
but I do recommend it.
What's the price?
The price of Twig is $16.99.
Downright affordable.
It's an excellent book. I talked to Kyle Stram at a comic book convention earlier this year. He's the artist on the book, and the first thing I said to him was like, "Are you going to do more Twig?"
Mm-hmm.
And he nodded and he said, "Yes, not right now because he and Scotty Young are both really busy doing on stuff, working on stuff." But he just told me, he's like, "Yeah, we just liked the characters so much."
Yeah.
So I know they've got more stories in them for more Twig, and I'm here for it. I cannot wait. Boom. All right, we're gonna blast through. We're gonna blast through some stuff. This is just a bunch of stuff,
pew, pew, pew.
Random stuff that I just pulled off the shelf. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
I talked about the first issue. I think I talked about the second issue too.
You talked about it.
I did. Yeah. I wasn't planning on talking about this issue because I think if you read the first two issues, you know what you're getting. It looks. I don't know anything about it. This issue, I'm just flipping through it.
A lot of Godzilla.
A lot of Godzilla,
days,
which I'm glad. I'm glad to see. That was my criticism. I think of the first issue was not enough Godzilla. And there you go. Shazam and Supergirl
punching
Godzilla. Very nice.
Wouldn't happen.
So it looks like it wouldn't happen. Right. So this is nice. Yeah. It's a 7-issue series, so it looks like we're getting into the meat of the action. I don't even want to flip through too much more of it.
Mess it up.
But if you're into the Justice League and if you're into Godzilla, I think you're gonna like this. If you're in just King Kong and not the Justice League or Godzilla, I don't know if you'll appreciate this.
Yeah, because they're just beating up.
They're just beating up. Yeah, but I'm
not cool, man.
Well, that is kind of there's an element to this where I'm waiting to see. Like King Kong feels like he's not really been involved, so I'm waiting to see like how that plays out. Like when's King Kong gonna have his big moment? So I'm sure it's gonna be a big moment when it happens.
Jump in, yeah.
All right. Also coming out tomorrow, the original X-Men #1. This is
the screaming covers, but the book has been fun.
A lot going on. The screaming covers. We didn't get to talk about.
We didn't open any of them.
Well, because they're all plastic. They're sealed. But
it's fun. It's like a greeting card.
You know what? So I really appreciated that they did those covers because of a friend of mine who is the biggest Godzilla fan that I know. His name is Terry. Everybody, just if you know anybody that's named Terry, yeah, and you know that he likes Godzilla, he's probably this guy. And he used to have is the one Godzilla fan named Terry. And he told me he used to have a VHS of Godzilla, like one of the Godzilla movies, and it had that gimmick where when you squeezed the VHS, it would roar.
That's cool.
And he said it's been over squeezed; it no longer roars, but he does still have the VHS. So there's a precedent set, is what I'm saying, with Godzilla, of roaring Godzilla stuff.
Yeah, roaring merchandise.
Yeah. So pretty cool. Anyway, moving on. Some more X-Men. This is the variant edition that has the homage to the original X-Men #1. And I don't mean the title of this book, which is the original X-Men #1. I mean the original comic book X-Men #1. This book almost has my attention. It's written by Christos Gage. Yeah, I try not to be a sourpuss on this stream.
Yeah, you never are.
I never. I thank you, Dan, for saying that.
Is that book good? I don't know. We haven't really read it, right?
Original X-Men #1. I have not read this. The original X-Men #1 from 1962 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby is very good. I don't know a whole lot about this. I really like Christos Gage, the writer. He's a really good writer, and so that's what had my attention. I don't like Marvel that they're currently doing all these new stories with the original X-Men. I don't like when they were the time displaced X-Men. I don't like. There's just a lot I don't like. I'm sorry. I was just looking at this message. I don't. So I was hesitant to get into this. But I also I don't. I'm not a huge fan of the artist on this, Greg Land. He's not. I don't know. He's not the worst artist. If you know who Greg Land is, you know he comes with a lot of baggage. That's how I'll put it. I think his.
I don't know who he is
exactly. So now
I know he has.
It's kind of just like an example of a lot of the stuff I don't like about modern comic book art, superhero art especially. The characters are overly referenced. Some might even say traced, like
Oh.
from photos and stuff. And that's not in and of itself something that I dislike. I think that's all just a tool. It's just the overall, like, look at that. That is a picture of Val Kilmer
That looks like Val Kilmer.
that's supposed to be Iceman. So he just
I get it.
found a picture of Val Kilmer and and it's like it doesn't look like Iceman. It looked like Val Kilmer.
He's the original Iceman.
Yeah, photos of stuff. Yeah, Susie knows what I'm talking about. I'm being as PG as I can about it. So he's not the guy that I would pick to do a comic about the original team that was by Jack Kirby, one of the most dynamic superhero artists of all time. And Greg Land he has his strengths, but I wouldn't say he's dynamic the way Jack Kirby is dynamic. So I'm probably going to give this a read just because of my appreciation for Christos Gage. But don't have anything to say about it right now because I haven't read it, other than I guess I don't know everything I just said.
Everything you just said.
You
said the guy's a hack. So moving on.
You know what? I did not say that, but we will move on. Daredevil Black Armor.
Daredevil.
You know what? I'm only bringing this one out to say last time we talked about issue number 1, and I kind of cracked some jokes about the writer, D.G. Chichester, which sounds like a fake name.
A pen name.
I double checked actually. D.G. Chichester. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. He is a real writer who did write Daredevil back in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
As I was talking about earlier, these were comics that I did read as a youngin', but it was before I had any concept of the creators behind the books. So that name, I don't know if he continued writing comic books or something, but he wasn't somebody that I associated with comic book writing like when I kind of became more aware of creative people in the 2000s. And so I'm glad to see that he's they got him back to do this series because he was writing it at that time, the 90s Black Armor Daredevil. And I've talked about that, how much I appreciate that Marvel's kind of doing these retro continuity books.
Giving that 90s vibe.
Yes, exactly. And it definitely has a 90s vibe. I mean, we got Hobgoblin on the cover here. Sabretooth. And I do like that. The only thing is that it's the classic 80s Sabretooth, not the 90s Sabretooth. For the people that know, they know.
Yeah, that guy's ripped too.
Sabretooth is ripped. He's basically evil Wolverine.
Goodness.
But he's like Wolverine, but not short. Hugh Jackman should be playing Sabretooth, not Wolverine. Hugh Jackman's too tall for Wolverine.
Too tall.
I will die on that hill. All right, moving on. Cap Wolf and the Howling Commandos number 3. You know what? I didn't even read issue 2.
Cap Wolf's my jam.
We talked about issue number 1. And it was neat enough, but I didn't read issue 2. But I'm pulling issue 3 off just to flip through it. Yeah. It looks like there's some werewolf action.
Yeah,
it looks weird. There we go. Captain America as a werewolf. Pretty much, it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's
very. They have the concept.
Yeah,
just run with it, baby.
So this is another one by issue 3 of Cap Wolf and the Howling Commandos. If you have even looked at it, I think you know exactly what you're getting, and you're either on board or you're not.
Nice.
Moving on, Uncanny Spider-Man number 5. I have not been keeping up with this because I have a complicated relationship with Nightcrawler, who's one of my favorite X-Men, but also he has just had some of the absolute worst stories ever written about him. Which is sad, but I'm shocked at the speed which this series has been coming out. I would have to double check it. I feel like they're almost putting out 2 issues a month, which is insane to me. But I guess they're just trying to get it all out and done before the next event starts. But I have talked to. So I do have a soft spot. Look at it. Oh man, that's pretty cool. That's Warlock right there. I have a soft spot for the X-Men, even if I'm not reading the books. Whenever customers come into the store, I always ask them, give me the real dirt. How you feeling about this? Do you like it? Most people do like it because they wouldn't buy it if they didn't like it, But I do try to I keep my ear to the grindstone, and I want to know. And so the Nightcrawler fans that I've been talking to, they are enjoying this series. So I might have to sit down and kind of give it a proper read.
Give it the time.
Yes, the time.
A little bit of respect.
Time is such it's in short supply these days. It's a valuable commodity.
Finite resource that we have.
That's right. But you know what? I'm glad that everybody's enjoying Uncanny Spider-Man. I think the joke, not necessarily the joke, but the humorous setup
Mhm.
of Nightcrawler's hiding out because he's a mutant and people are hunting mutants. So he just puts on a Spider-Man costume
Yeah.
and pretends to be a Spider-Man, and nobody really notices because there's like a million Spider-Man running around
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now. That's a good joke. That's funny to me. That's the kind of thing that I think is funny to build a premise off of. So yeah, let's moving on. Marvel
Moving-
Gods.
Oh my God!
We talked about the first issue by
We did.
Hickman, and I don't actually know if it's the same artist. Probably is Valerio Skitty. I don't know anything about this series. I read the first issue and I thought it was just fine, and then I didn't read the rest of it. But I know some people are excited about it. We've been selling out of the
Look at
issues.
the frog guy.
That's pretty
Oh,
good. I like
man.
I like a nice talking frog.
I love a frog guy.
So we haven't like kept these issues on the shelf, so I haven't even been able to get caught up and read the second issue if I wanted to, because it's been selling out. So I thought maybe I should at least flip through this issue before we sell out of it. But yeah, if this is a book that you're enjoying, come on in and get it. I do think the art looks really good. Like, it's a step up of some of the other stuff I was complaining about earlier.
Nice.
So yeah, New Gods, or I'm sorry, not New Gods. That's a different book. This is just Gods,
Just Gods.
but it's with the periods
I
after.
know.
So it's actually what is that?
Acronym.
An
Mhm.
anagram, something
Acronym
like that.
is acronym. Anagrams is spelled the same way, frontwards and backwards.
No, that's a palindrome.
Oh, anagram is when you take the letters and rearrange it. And
That
make
is an
another-
anagram.
yes,
You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was close.
So like, what's a good anagram for Alec Guinness?
Ooh, I don't know.
Genuine class.
Ooh, nice.
Hey, that's what you
He
get.
came with that on the spot.
Yeah, on the spot. I not from watching the same episode of The Simpsons like a million times.
Nice.
Next up, another issue coming out, Creepshow. Christmas is a time of horror, I think, and
You think?
you know what? I was reminded of that in the Christmas song, the classic Christmas classic. I actually don't remember the name of it. It's The Most Wonderful Time of the Year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. You want me to sing the song? Sound out in the comments.
Beautiful.
But there's a lyric in there about telling scary ghost stories.
Really?
That's a Christmas tradition.
Okay.
Is scary ghost stories. So I think we need to really bring that back. We need to embrace that. So yeah, Creepshow. I mean, I really like the original Creepshow movie. I've been off and on about this new comic book series, but it's been pretty solid. This issue has a short story by Nick Dragata. He's a good creator.
Yeah.
I figure this is another one where, like, if you are into it, you already know that you're into this. But just a reminder that it's coming out and you should check it out. Boom. Incredible Hulk.
The Hulk.
I have not been following this series, but a friend of mine is reading it and he really absolutely loves it.
Let's talk about the hair on that.
So
let's.
I'm gonna talk about this. I'm very peculiar about the way the Hulk is drawn.
Maybe
very peculiar.
Particular?
I'm particular, yeah.
Yeah, but you're also peculiar.
But
you're particular
No,
about
I am-
how he's drawn.
No, I am peculiar
Okay.
because I do feel like
okay.
no, but okay, I did mean to say particular, but I am peculiar about it. There's a lot of different versions of the Hulk out there, and he's a character that lends himself to a lot of artistic license because he's just a green monster.
He's a big green guy.
But I don't like the long hair. Even though in various versions he's had long hair before.
I love it. It's
I think the biggest thing for me though is the nose.
Mm.
This gets close. Nick Klein gets really close.
It's too small.
It's no.
Too big.
It's not stubby enough. The Hulk should have like a stubby nose. And it's like it's almost there. It is stubby. I guess it's just not the right kind of stubby. So that's why I was saying I'm peculiar about it, because he actually does check like my credentials, but it's still just,
except for the nose and the hair.
The hair, I guess, but the nose is stubby, which is how I prefer it. It's just not stubby in the right way. I don't know how else to describe
It's not the right kind of stubby.
No. I'm just kidding around. It's
It doesn't sound like you're kidding. You can't backtrack now. Just own it.
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider's in it.
We're just going to talk about
Saves
Ghost Rider.
the whole thing.
Yeah. So I've been hearing good things about this run. Nick Klein is a great artist.
The nose
looks
stubby
cool.
correctly, but
Yeah, I mean, Ghost Rider's nose looks great.
Yeah, it's good. His hair looks good too.
Fiery. Look at that. See, that's a proper Ghost Rider nose.
That's a nose.
Anyway, I think I've heard the only downside to this series is that there's been a lot of fill-in artists. Like Nick Klein has not been drawing every issue, so that's a bummer to hear. It's always frustrating when you have like a really good artist that you're excited about, and they can only draw like every other issue. But if you're excited about Nick Klein, then get even more excited because this issue is drawn by him, issue 7. So
Nick
boom,
Klein.
there we go.
Boom.
All right,
Pound.
Animal Pound.
You like a talking animal?
I do like a good talking animal. I actually did read this issue today.
Yep.
This is by Tom King and Peter Gross.
Oh, Tom King.
Yeah, I don't remember how much we've talked about Tom King on this show. I'm
Enough that I recognize the name.
Yeah, he gets talked about a lot. He's one of the new like big name writers. I say new, but it's been like 10 years, I think. Anything after
Time
like
flies,
2004 is new to me,
It's
man.
time flies. When
Yeah.
you get to a certain age.
right. I don't want to talk about it. I think he's a good writer, but I'm not like totally sold on him being like this generation's Alan Moore, which is maybe not like his fault. That's just what people have, marketing comes up with all this stuff. But
that's the title thrust upon him.
exactly, so it's like I have a little sympathy. But this is a 4-issue series. It is a retelling of Animal Farm, but set in a pound. The art is by
heavy stuff.
It is, and so it's like my criticism of Tom King often is that he is way too serious. When you're writing like Mr. Miracle or superhero comics, I think it takes it way too seriously. Animal Farm, though, is kind of a serious subject.
Yeah.
So tonally, I feel like he's correct for this. The art is by Peter Gross, and it looks really good. He draws, the animals are all drawn realistically, like highly like realistically rendered, which kind of just gives it that extra melancholy feel. So it's set in a pound where animals are getting put to sleep, and that's what leads to the revolution, why they take over the pound, and then they're going to create their own paradise. And if you've read Animal Farm before, you know that doesn't necessarily end well. So I am curious to see where this goes. I do feel like it's a little overwritten, but maybe that's just because I have read Animal Farm. So I was kind of reading some of this, and I was just like, get to the point. I also, I other than appreciating the art, I don't know. I'm like, I kind of feel like you should just read Animal Farm. Like, I don't know if this deserves much of an identity.
Did this really need to be made?
Yeah, and that's not to say that it maybe in the future issues that will come around. But the first issue just kind of felt very much like I was just reading. I haven't read Animal Farm in a few years, but I am familiar with the book, and so I was just kind of like, okay, this is like Animal Farm, but just not as engaging in a way. But one thing I did really like the art, and I love that there's this fat black cat who, if you're not familiar, Dan, black cats are often referred to as voids because you can't take pictures of them. Like whenever you take a black cat, it just looks like a black mat. Like you can't get any of that detail. And I like that art. In the art, this cat is just depicted as a straight void.
There's no
features. Like you can't even see that other leg. Like it's just the eyes, the paws, and then blackness. And that is a really beautiful artistic choice. So everything I just said about I'm not sure why this book exists, at the very least, that's the reason. It's for the art specifically. This void cat. So there was that. I did really appreciate that.
Solid.
All right, I got 2 more books to talk about, and then we're out of here. Beyond Real. This is
number 1 from Vault.
This is a number 1 from Vault. This actually came out last week, and I didn't do my due diligence and talk about it. But wiener. I know I'm going to blame somebody else for not telling me that this is a free promo book. So Vault has been really on their marketing, and they're putting out a bunch of new series, and the first issues are free. They're just sending us a bunch and saying, give them out to people. Get people to read our books. Get them hooked. And so this is Beyond Real. This is by... it's written by Zach Kaplan. The artists are Fabiana Mascolo and Tony Fezula. Fezula. But they're also I guess Tony is a colorist with Jordi Belair. And I only point that out because it's a really good looking comic. I really like the art.
Very like modern style.
Yes. But it doesn't look muddy and lazy the way a lot of the superhero books look. Like they they took their time with the art on this. It's an interesting story. It's about this with the main character, like she's in a relationship and a tragedy kind of befalls them. And I like the book kind of opens with them having a sarcastic conversation about what is reality, and what if they're living in a simulation, et cetera, et cetera. And then ever
What
since
if we are?
well, that's kind of what the book is about, because ever since the accident, she's like seeing strange things and like noticing weird things, and it all kind of builds up to this interesting mystery about like, well, she's aware of the programming or something, like what exactly is going on. It's not outright said, but yeah, it's got a good hook. The final page kind of like leads you to like it's going to have some kind of big moment beginning of the next issue. I enjoyed it, and for a free first issue, you really can't beat that. So
Can't beat a free issue.
yeah, and I'm definitely going to check out the second issue. So bam, there you go. Swing on by. We've got several copies still of Beyond Real that we're handing out to anybody that wants it. So come and get it. Yeah. All right, final issue. I always ask a coworker to pick out one comic for me to read through and talk about, something that might not normally be, something that I read about. And today I asked our dear friend Celeste.
Oh, Celeste.
And it was my fault for asking her to pick one out 30 minutes before the stream starts.
Right, yeah.
But of course she had to pick like one of the biggest books, the
book.
fattest, thickest book.
So did you read it?
No, I didn't. But I did read about it. So I
read an article.
This is a one shot. Yeah, I read a headline.
Nice.
This book is called Shift, and it's a one shot, and it is it ties into Kyle Higgins' series Radiant Black. So which I have not read, but I have had a few friends tell me that I need to read Radiant Black and all of the tie-in series, because it's kind of its own modern superhero universe, like told across several books. Looks really interesting. I think it's kind of neat. What this issue collects is the 4 short stories that were printed in the Image Comics anthology. I think it was just Image anthology that came out earlier this year. And so that's kind of neat that if you didn't want to buy the anthology to get all the other stories, but you're interested in Radiant Black, you can just get this and just have all the Radiant Black stories. Plus, it does have a new story that's not collected anywhere else. So that's how they get you. So even if you did get the anthology, you still got to get this one to get that new one.
You got to figure it all out.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I haven't even touched any of this series: Radiant Black, Radiant Pink, Radiant, all of them. But I have it on good authority. People whose opinions I trust because they're similar to mine. I read an article, a Facebook, a link on Facebook.
I read a Facebook post.
Yeah, I read a Facebook post.
I read a tweet
that said that it's a really good book. So it's something that time is a precious commodity, and I only got so much of it, but this is on my list of things to check out. So
didn't your review shift? We're looking at it right now.
Did I? Well, I guess if you mean right now,
right.
No.
We looked at it and said it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks cool, but I haven't read it. I haven't read it, so I can't really tell you much about it.
But I recommend coming to the store and purchasing it.
Yes, that's the surefire way. Well, I pretty much always recommend.
I mean, we recommend that always. I mean, it looks really cool.
Yeah,
I like a good sci-fi situation. So
yeah,
that speaks to me.
All right, man. That's all I got.
That's all we got. That was a big stack of books.
It was a huge stack, and I'm surprised we were able to get through them in such a timely manner.
We did it in a time. Oh, I'm grabbing it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Excellent. It's
well,
good
then
one.
I need you to tell me if you like it. Tell me how it is.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about it later. I love Radiant Black.
Okay. Excellent. There you go.
Well,
man,
makes sense.
That's another one. Everybody loves Radiant Black.
You got to read it.
I have to now. Like it's embarrassing. I've been called out on the stream.
Wow. Wow.
All right, don't look at me.
don't look at me. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the stream. There's a lot of stuff there, a lot of things. I'm excited to share my love of comics with people this holiday. I'm actually going to get one of those books for someone. I think that they'll enjoy it. So come on to the store, grab the new books that come out tomorrow. You're going to find something you like. And we'll see you next Tuesday for the next comic book stream.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.
Peace.